Hi Scrubs, I hope you're well. This video is requested by Abigail Hutchinson and this video is an updated version of how to win rosettes on Howrse. So I'm going to talk about what kinds of competitions give rosettes, how you can identify those competitions, how many are going to be on your individual server, what kind of horse you're going to need, as well as the bonuses you're going to need. So to start off with, rosettes are rewards earned by winning certain competitions with 75% or higher prestige. So basically you can't win rosettes on competitions with below 75. And the other thing is, if you enter your horse into a rosette competition and you win the competition, you win that rosette, if you take the same horse into that same competition, you can't win that rosette again. It's only once that you can win that rosette. Now if you take a different horse into that same competition and win it, then you can get that rosette again. Just two little things to note is that when your horse wins a rosette, you earn twice as much equus from that competition as you would normally, and the more rosettes you collect, you can actually earn more trophies for your collections as well. So one of the first things you want to do is actually identify how many competitions on your server actually provide rosettes, and you can do this by going into Achievements, Best Equestrian Centres, and then click See the Rankings for the best competitions. So from here, you want to look at the prestige part, and you want to scroll down and have a look and see where there are 75 or up. Now if we look here at Trot, from the 23rd competition up to the 1st, there's 23 competitions that will provide rosettes. If we look here at Gallop, okay, if we scroll down here, we can keep going, and there we go. So from 154 up, you can get rosettes. Now, if you were going to produce a skiller, and you could choose between a Gallop skiller and a Trot skiller, and you're thinking, well, I want to win as many rosettes as possible, you would automatically go, right, well, Gallop's better because there's 154 rosettes available, whereas there's only going to be 23 available with the Trot. So that's a way that you can decide what kind of competition to enter. Now, if your server isn't maybe in that much into classical, you can go and have a look at Western. Now, I'm going to have a quick look at Western here. Now, if we have a look at cutting here, there's really not very much available. It's only the first 11 competitions that actually are going to provide a rosette, so that's quite limiting. Now we can look again, reining here for example, there's only one competition that's over 75%, so it would be a waste of time really producing a reining skiller when there's only one reining rosette on offer. So if you're going to spend passes or just resources that you have saved up, it's better to put them into something that's going to be more worthwhile. Look for competitions that have a lot of rosettes on offer, okay? Look for disciplines that offer a lot. I mean, you might find, for example, you're looking at both disciplines, you might look at classical and you might look at Western, and okay, Western might have one competition type that only has, you know, a few, but the rest have loads, whereas maybe classical has maybe like 20 for Gallop and 20 for Trot and 10 for show jumping and 30 for cross country, while maybe in here, cutting could have 1,000 competitions available. So you want to look at both disciplines and then individually at the competition types and then decide which is going to work better for you. Okay, so say you've identified what competitions are available to you, how many give rosettes and so forth. The next thing obviously you want to do is, now I'm just going to have a look at Gallop for this example. So I'm going to click on the top Gallop competition and I'm also going to open the lowest one. And that was this one, okay? So both of these provide rosettes. This one provides them to horses with a Gallop level between 2,200 and 4,400 in Gallop. So you're going to need a horse with that amount of Gallop skill. It's not the total skills of your horse, it's just whatever it is for this Gallop one. If we look at the one that was the lowest, this one is open to horses with 1,750 to 3,500 in Gallop. So obviously, depending on what kind of competition you go for, you're going to need to check what particular skill is required, okay? Now for Gallop it's kind of obvious that it's going to be Gallop, and for Trot it's kind of obvious it's going to be Trot, but for these other, like the likes of Western competitions, you know, you need to open in and have one actually, you know, go and actually look and see. Okay, so this one for example, reining, also requires Gallop. So you do need to go and check and have a look. Now the next thing is, okay, if you have identified what kind of competitions are available and how many of each, and you really want the Austrialian Divine, I'm going to just quickly go in here to Best Breeders. Okay, so the number of rosettes won this month. Okay, so win the first place in the rankings to win the Divine Horse Austrialian on the 1st of the month. Now, my advice to you, if you're trying to win the Arion Divine, and this is why you're trying to win as many rosettes as possible, and you're not really bothered with trophies, okay, because you could unlock certain trophies by winning rosettes, okay? If you're doing this, keep an eye of the number of rosettes won this month on your server. Check back on it at the end of the month, each month for a couple of months, and see typically how many rosettes the person at the top accumulates. The reason for this is, you could go in here and, you know, at the start of the month and think, oh, I only need to win about 30, but at the end of the month that could be 3,000, and if you're planning to try and get the Arion Divine, you're going to have to work out roughly how many skillers you're going to need in order to do that, okay? Because, you know, one horse on maybe a small server might get you enough rosettes to win that at the end of the month. Bigger servers, most likely not, and you're going to need a couple. You might need to put them in different disciplines. You maybe go for the same one if you find a particular competition type has a lot. You're going to need to make sure that you don't compete against yourself as well. You know, just little things like that, okay? Now, you can use divines to win rosettes as well, but I wouldn't just buy divines or get divines for that specific purpose. I mean, I have a Mars divine, I have a couple of rosettes on, okay? And I quite like it because some of the planetary divines, you know, you just add skills on by doing rides, and I find they're a good little way to just get a couple of rosettes when you need them. If you're just kind of need rosettes every once in a while and you don't really need them maybe to that level to get the Arion Divine, maybe if you have some of these divines where you can add on skills from doing rides, this might be a good way to do that, okay? Now, I know that I've kind of been focusing on one particular skill, okay? And I'm not going to go into too much detail in terms of how to win with your skillers. If you need to know more information about how to win particular competition, you're not sure, have a look at my Design to Win video. Because as much as, and I'm just going to go to a skiller that I have here, okay? You can see that this horse is quite high in gallop, right? But as we've already identified, this horse is probably not going to be able to see the competitions that have this kind of gallop, because already if we look here, this horse isn't going to have enough gallop to go into the lowest one. And it's just worth mentioning that just because the top one requires more than a lower one, it's not always the case. Sometimes the level required for the top competition will be lower than one of the lower prestige competitions. It just depends. It's just something to bear in mind. Now, I'm going to quickly have a look at the best horses here, okay? Because one of the things that you kind of want to do if you're going to be buying a skiller or ordering one from a team or something like that, go in and actually see what horses skills are, okay? And you can do that very easily. You know, you go in and have a look at stamina and speed and gallop and trot and jumping and dressage and the likes, okay? And you can also see the horses with their most rosettes in the game, but we're not going to worry too much about that for this, because that's not so important, really, okay? Because some of these horses can be quite old horses. So buying one of those horses and immediately assuming that you're going to win all the rosette competitions is not necessarily the case. So let's say we are going to go with trot, okay? As we identified like a minute or two ago, might be quite limited in competition types. So I'm just going to go back to it here. Okay, so we identified that the first 23 would give rosettes. So something around 1,650, okay, if we have a look at the best horses in trot here. Just generally, you can see that already there seems to be a good range of horses, so you could maybe go and buy one of those ones that's in there to do that if you weren't skilling yourself. It also gives you a rough idea of how many horses you might be competing against as well. Obviously some horses are going to be stuck in the other discipline, they might be Western and you're going classical, so that doesn't matter so much. But you can see already that there's a good range of horses in this particular one that would have access to that competition that we were just looking at, okay? So if we keep going, I think we're not far off 1,650, getting close to it, I think. So yeah, around there, okay, so there's about 230 horses approximately that could go into that particular trot competition because they've got over 1,650 in trot. And I've already identified that this skiller that I have, now it is an old skiller, wouldn't be able to go into the lowest, you know, gallop competition for rosettes. Now we still could go and look and see if there's any rosettes available, but right now we can't see any. Now typically if you go in and you don't see a rosette here, it means one of two things. You've either already got the rosette or there's no rosette for the competition. Now I don't expect there to be any rosettes for those competitions. So I'm just going to show you what actually happens whenever you can see rosette competition. So I have a legendary horse here which I know can see rosettes, just because I don't have any recent skillers to use. So if I go into trail classes here, you can see that there's quite a lot that don't have anything beside them, but for the ones that do have rosettes on offer, it actually does display them beside the competition. So that is a really easy visual for you if you're going in going, oh okay, which ones have I not already have? They'll actually show up. So obviously if I enter this competition and then win that particular rosette, the next time I go to do that competition the rosettes won't show up, and it's a really easy way to show you that you've already got it. Now I've got an old skiller here which won't be able to see rosettes, but I am going to show you a couple of things on it that are very important. So we're coming to the bonuses now. So there's two particular bonuses that are going to be very important, just like they would be for a Grand Prix horse. And obviously if you don't know a lot about skillers or the Grand Prix, have a look at my playlist about skillers and making skillers and what kind of bonuses they need, because that'll give you a better overall idea of that, and it's too much to go into in this video. But there is two particular bonuses that I'm going to mention, and that is the Falabella bonus and the tub of grease. Now if you don't know what those two things are, do have a look at my Falabella Fables video, because that'll go into more detail about Falabellas, but I'm going to go into a bit of it here. So this horse already has a particular item that's very useful for these two things. It's called Curious Fortune, and the Curious Fortune doubles your chances to find treats or bonuses while completing actions with your horse. Okay, so for instance, you will find twice as many tubs of grease or twice as many carrots. This is very important for these time-limited bonuses, okay? So we're going to go back to that horse. So that horse already has that particular item, but if we go into bonuses here, you can see this horse has got a lot of bonuses, but I don't see any tub of grease, and I don't see a Falabella bonus. So, we're now going to put it in an equestrian center, and we're going to go and get those time-limited bonuses. But the other thing to mention is equestrian centers. And the reason for this is equestrian centers have a very, very big bonus that they can provide, okay, and the highest is plus 40. So this one we could enter with plus 38. You can actually have a look in general. Usually if you go and want to check on the prestige event, you see most of the time it's usually automatically set by default to sort by prestige. So if I click on this one, have a look at this place, this gives a plus 18 in each skill. So that wouldn't be ideal, but it depends what you have available, but really you want to go for a plus 40. I'm going to take this plus 38 just on this horse, but plus 40 is the best that you can get, and really if you're going to spend the time and the money to try and make a Rosette skiller or a Grand Prix skiller, get a plus 40 somehow. Okay, so now that we've put that horse into an EC, here's how you get tub of grease. The tub of grease you do missions and lessons with to get the tub of grease, and we've been very lucky and you found a tub of grease while on mission with Sugar Spy Rush. This item gives us stamina and speed bonus for several days. So if we refresh here, we now have the tub of grease bonus. So that's a time limited bonus. So if I was to keep aging this horse, after a couple of days it would lose it. So it's very important to make sure when you go to enter Rosette competitions that you have your tub of grease on it along with the Falabella at the same time. So the next thing is we're going to go, and I'm just going to kind of show you this because I think this is going to be very important that people understand this. Whenever you go into a particular competition, okay, and you enter that competition, if you own a Falabella, there's a chance of finding the Falabella bonus, okay? And whenever I enter Gallop and I find a Falabella during that time, I get a Falabella Gallop bonus, okay? It's a bonus that's designed to be aimed at the Gallop skills, which are, in this particular case, are Gallop, Speed, and Dressage, okay? The reason you can tell this is if I click on Gallop, Speed, and Dressage, okay? Now let's try and get the Gallop Falabella. Okay, so we didn't get anything that time. Didn't get anything that time. This is going to be one of those days where I can't get the darn thing, isn't it? Alright, let's keep going. Haven't got it yet. There, okay. So Falabella has just earned Sugar Spy Rush, a bonus for several days. So it's just like the tub of grease, and it earns it for several days. But unlike the tub of grease, this bonus can change. So this, as you can see, is a speed, dressage, and gallop bonus. And lo and behold, gallop is, you know, those exact 3 things. So there would be no point in you getting, you know, a trot falabella bonus if you're planning to go into gallop competitions to get rosettes on. And the other thing to bear in mind is, if you're going to try and get the bonus, okay, make sure that you enter competitions that don't have rosettes to get the bonus, okay? And then once you have the bonuses, then go into the rosette competitions, because you don't want to waste your time entering rosette competitions without the bonuses, okay? So it's very important that you get the tub of grease, and you get the falabella, and you make sure you get the right falabella. If you don't know a lot about falabellas, you know, please do watch my falabella fails video, and that will give you much more information on that. And those are time-limited bonuses. And obviously, your EC is going to be very important. I mean, we're not going to go into all these other bonuses, and that if you have seen my skiller videos or my Grand Prix skiller videos, that will go into that amount of detail, because there's a lot of it. And obviously, using that Courier's Fortune will make your life a little bit easier. It doesn't always make it easier, but usually it does. So the other thing I want to mention is that while a horse might be really skilled in one particular skill, okay, you might be thinking, well, I'm going to win all of the rosettes in gallop because I have a really, really talented gallop horse. You do need to be aware of the secondary skills, okay? Now, while the primary skill, which is that particular skill that whatever you're entering for, and in this case we're just going to use gallop as an example, is going to be what dictates the difficulty that you can enter, is going to dictate whether you can enter those rosette competitions. You don't want to forget about your secondaries. And if you don't know what secondaries are, have a look at my Design to Win video, and it will go into much more detail, because you might go out there and spend a lot of money buying a horse that is super good at gallop in its particular skill, and you plan to go into gallop competitions, but it might have really low speed and dressage in comparisons, okay? And somebody else might come along and they have a horse that's reasonably good in gallop. It's maybe not just as high as yours, but it has really good speed and dressage as well, and chances are, you know, it might beat your horse. So just be aware of that. Have a look at my Design to Win video if you're not entirely sure, but these are just some things to bear in mind. So obviously, remember, for rosettes, you need to be looking for prestige over 75%. You can only win a rosette once. Check how many rosettes are available on your server. Make sure you've got a skiller that can enter those competitions. If you're trying to win the Divine Horse Arion, look at the end of the month and see, you know, what the best people are in terms of how many rosettes they're getting, because you're going to need to work out how realistic that is for you and your resources. Some divines you can use to get rosettes, don't forget that, but don't be solely relying on them. And then you're going to have to make sure that you're either buying or breeding or getting a skiller that can actually enter the competitions that you want to enter, you know. If you're not entirely sure about what to look for, have a look at my Design to Win video. Remember your bonuses, you know, remember your EC bonus at plus 40 if you can possibly get it. You know, your falabella and your tub of grease, those are time-limited bonuses, they don't stay forever. Make sure you've got the right falabella. If you don't know enough about falabellas, go and have a look at my falabella fables video, and if you're having a tough time getting your time-limited bonuses, make sure you've got a Courier's Fortune to hand. So that is hopefully an overview of how to win rosettes on horse. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you to Abigail Hutchinson for requesting the video. I hope you said love a day, scrubs, and bye bye!